how does theology not become fractured, or even the Bible, when Jesus, while on the cross, insisted that the thief next to him suggested, he said to the thief, "Today you will be with me in paradise," while similarly maintaining that the Apostles' Creed suggests that he went to hell for 3 days, beginning with his crucifixion, or the time that he was made dead. So how does the church sort of explain that or reconcile that when there's a clear contradiction between one thing and the other?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the question. So traditionally, the way the church understands the promise, "Today will you be with me in paradise," paradise here does not refer to the beatific vision. Does not refer to the beatific vision. Refers to Christ's descent to the limbus of the fathers. The descent into hell is not the descent into the damned. It's the descent to the abode of the righteous dead of the old covenant who were awaiting the coming of the Messiah. So St. Dismas would have accompanied Jesus and then ascended with all of the righteous souls to the beatific vision after the ascension of Christ. So that's the way they would reconcile that. Now, the question presumes, however, a view of the Bible that I would like to challenge, because I don't think it reflects the Catholic view of Scripture. So your question suggests that the Bible is something like a giant verbal Rubik's Cube, and that all of the pieces can be aligned into a perfectly coherent system without contradiction. And I don't think the Bible works that way, and I don't think that's the Catholic view of the Bible, and I don't think it was Jesus' view of the Bible. When I look at the way Jesus engaged the text of Scriptures, he thought that there were texts that clearly were layered in their authority and significance, and that some texts had priority over others, and that there were certain principles that actually had priority over the literal sense of other texts. So to take an example, the Old Testament called for the execution of adulterers. It's part of the Levitical code. Put people to death if they commit adultery. And yet Jesus manifestly refused to implement that command. In John chapter 8, they were confronted with a woman who committed adultery, and Jesus said, "We're not going to do that. We're not going to execute her. We're going to show mercy," right? Or the Old Testament said that men could divorce their wives, seemingly for any reason. Jesus said, "I'm not going to do that. Husbands are not going to abandon their families, and they don't just have carte blanche to, leave their wife and abandon her and leave her destitute. The law of love and the dignity of women and other principles are of higher value." And St. Paul does the same thing when he deals with the Old Testament. He says there's a way of reading the Old Testament, kind of like a fundamentalist, sort of word by word, as the man in the street would understand it. Paul actually calls that reading the Bible as a letter of death, because it would lead you to do things like execute adulterers.
Yeah.
He says there's another way of reading the Bible with the mind of Christ, according to the Spirit, that leads us rather to the kind of charity and virtue that Jesus seeks to inculcate into our lives. And so the Catholic Church doesn't really regard the Bible as a kind of verbal Rubik's Cube where all the pieces necessarily cohere in this logical order, but rather is a highly sort of obscure text with layers of meaning that have to be unpacked within the tradition of the Church, all pointing us to transformation of our character after the likeness of Jesus. So just a very different understanding of what the Bible is and how it functions in our life.